right back, Charlie. Definitely.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, man. Come on. Because you always used to
What the hell is going on, man? Oh, am I there? Okay. And it's the wrong mic.
I don't know what happened there, people. I don't know what happened there. No, it weren't muted. It's literally like I can hear myself, but I can't hear the feedback in it. So I know there's an issue. Nonetheless, the show must go on, people. People deluded. I'm back again. Surely you can hear me now. It's showing me that it's working. Big up you lot. Happy morning to you lot. Morning, afternoon, evening, good night, wherever it's concerned. Obviously, it's Monday. And we're starting to get the wheels in motion, not just on the transfer market, but our preparations for the upcoming season. Not just us, but a bunch of clubs. I'm sure you've all heard, better yet, people, about Tomiyasu's injury. Let me know your thoughts on that. There are some reports that say he's going to miss 2 weeks. Some go as far as to say he's going to miss the whole of pre-season. So he's almost having to catch up in that regards. And I do wonder what that means for the futures of Kiwior and Zinchenko. And what I mean by that is, unfortunately, if there was one evident criticism of Tomiyasu, it's unfortunately the man can't stay fit. Now, Arsenal know this. Personally, I think that's reflected in the length of his contract he signed recently as well. So we probably do expect him and Partey to pick up knocks, but where we're going for the new season, the preparations, etc., of course it's a spanner in the works. And I wonder what that means. Do we hang on to Kiwior, who can play left back as well as centre half? Do we hold on to Zinchenko? It does look like it doesn't look like we've had any bids for others, but we did hear Bayern Munich and Newcastle were interested in Zinchenko. He's got 2 years left. It appears that there's radio silence. Every day you type in Kiwior's name, whether it's Bologna, Inter, AC Milan, Juventus, Napoli, Roma, he's still got links, and it feels like there's a bigger market for Kiwior in terms of bringing in a transfer fee. But the very fact that Zinchenko's contract is running down, not that I'm pocket watching or I necessarily care about wages, but if both players are on the peripheral things, from a financial point of view, it could make more sense to bring more money in, obviously getting rid of Kiwior. But then you look at Zinchenko's wages, he probably earns a lot more than Kiwior. So it all depends how we're looking at it. Of course, there's a reality where both could stay. We all know we want to compete in all competitions. Mikel Arteta has previously said we've got one of the smallest squads. So, yeah, Tomiyasu hasn't travelled to America. And again, I don't want to read too much into it, but whether he's injured or not, just to be out there with the boys. If his knee can't handle travel and what they want to do there, then there's an issue. Obviously, the boys have touched down in LA for the first part of our pre-season preparations. Calafiori deal seems like it's moving ever closer, and we're still linked with Merino and Pedro Neto. Big up my favorite boxer, Sammy Carr, man. Big up DG. Been a minute since I've caught you live. Hope you're good. I'm good, man, and I hope everyone else is doing well and safe. Tristan, appreciate that. I swear Tommy's annoying. The injuries are annoying with Tomiyasu, and I can understand if people want to give up on Tomiyasu. Of course, it can't persist. For me personally, and just purely speaking for myself, Kiwior, it could be him, but Tomiyasu is a key part to our plans, whether he's a starter, whether he's a guy that comes off to close out games. Obviously, I love what, in theory, Calafiori can bring to this team. I'm keen to see Timber now because he's over his injuries. Obviously, Zinchenko has a lot of criticisms, but he can do that inverted role. We've got the Benjamin Whites, the Salibas, the Gabriels. We've got some great defensive options, and I think Tomiyasu is central to that. I think he's loved by the club. I think he's a key player for the team. But again, injuries are the biggest issue, really. And what I would say is, it's best that it happens happens now versus, you know, later on into the season. Hopefully there's no setbacks. Tommy's injuries is not news to me, but we've got Timber, Kivior, Zinchenko, and soon Calafiori. Our defense is stacked. And that's what we need defenders for, really and truly. And ironically, you know, Timber had the mad injury. Tomiyasu's name, like Tierney and Tomiyasu, synonymous with injuries, right? But you look at that left-hand side for Arsenal last season, there was a lot of chopping and changing. You know, Martinelli weren't at the races. I won't even quite say Trossard was in and out of the side, but for want of better phrases, in and out the side. We had a lot of shuffling in relation to who's playing in midfield. Typically, it was Declan Rice in that left 8 role. You know, whether it was Timber, obviously injured 50 minutes into the season, that's just gone. Kivior got a run in there. Zinni was there. Tomiyasu had an opportunity there. There was a lot of turnover. You look on our right-hand side, you know, touch wood, pause. Saliba's never injured. Ben White is never injured. You know, Odegaard's a never present fixture. Saka's basically never injured. Of course, there's been a couple of games these guys have missed, but it's quite the contrast, really. And I don't think we can afford, beyond the obvious, to go into next season with that. Like, if it's up to me, I'm a big fan of the Calafiori signing. I would be wary of drawing conclusions as to who is going to be the first choice left back. I do think generally in squad football, we need to get away with that. But also, I think stability is an underrated aspect. You know, the vast majority of our players have been fit, been playing every game, and we've done a lot better now. Calafiori can play centre half, did play there last year, can play in the back 4 as well as a back 3, but he's a natural left footer. Statistically, at this time, you know, you never know what Arteta's planning, but he's played left back a lot. So you would argue, and he's being signed for 30, 40 odd million euros. So you would argue he's going to be first. I don't think people should write off Timber. Of course, Timber could be good and bad news for Benjamin White on the right hand side. We've got some great options. I wouldn't sell him. You go, man, big up my guy, White. I'm not selling Tomiyasu. I am not selling Tomiyasu. I'm not going to lie. If the injuries persist, then, you know, we've been bringing in some defenders that are doing our thing. If we find the next Tomiyasu that can kind of do that in the next season or seasons, then naturally I think Tomiyasu might be phased out because of that, really and truly, because he can't stay fit. And we need players who can stay fit, really and truly, but we need to keep it moving. But Tommy, like, for me anyways, I think Tomiyasu is the best defender at the club in the sense of, if you give him a marking job, you saw what he did against Mohamed Salah. That's that. Obviously, he's versatile. I do think, obviously, Tomiyasu is not a sexy footballer in that, you know, he's not particularly amazing at passing. There's not really any standout attributes. He's a steady Eddie at everything, but he's relatively ball-footed. He's versatile. I think he could get a lot of game time, God forbid, if something happens at centre-half. And I just think he's a good player, really and truly. We've come a long way, man, from the Pablo Maries, the Callum Chambers, the Rob Holdings, that's so crap. I said him twice, innit? Pablo Marie, who else was there? Socrates. I don't quite think it's fair to David Luiz to throw him into that, but you could say David Luiz as well, man. I'd think about Tommy's future at the club next summer instead of this summer. He's really only suitable backup at right back, in my opinion. I think that's harsh. He's shown he can play on the left-hand side. He's shown he can play on the right. Shown he can play centre-half. Yeah, man. If the injuries are persistent, bro, they've been persistent. I hear you, James. One more year, man. One more year. I'll give Tommy that, man. One more year. But if a year from now we're still talking about the same things, then unfortunately, and I can't rule out anyone. Everybody's in that team for a reason. Obviously, form, dynamics, and all of these things plays a part. But for me, I don't think Tomiyasu is a first choice left or right back at this club. But that doesn't mean he ain't got the ability to lock it down. He's ended the season very strong. He was our first choice once upon a time. You know, what was it? At one point, it was Benjamin White, Gabriel, Tomiyasu. They were 3 of our first choice back 4, really. And obviously, some are still that defense with Cedric, Holding, Kolasinac, Grim. I even forgot about them. But yeah, you get the point. And to be fair, man, like, there's a lot of people that need to leave, in my opinion, before Tomiyasu. I don't think we can afford to sell him. We finally are getting some decent options. Should we see what's in the news, people? Hi, Billy Boy as well, man. Again, first thing, selfishly, people, Versus have announced introducing Versus 50, a landmark celebration of individuals rising up to shape new football culture from Versus and Chivas. Writers, photographers, content creators, bear that in mind, campaigners and musicians, and much more. Submit your nominations. Big up you lot who've done that already. It takes 30 seconds of your time, people, and we can get our DG Nation out there. So yeah, keep your thoughts coming. Open up another tab and get that done. And keep your thoughts coming. Now, if we crack on with stuff, Fabrizio Romano, who is, you know, I don't think Fabrizio Romano is one person. He must be, it just must be like a name for something, because this guy is never sleeping. But nonetheless, he has said, I understand Arsenal and Bologna are now preparing all documents for the Ricardo Calafiori deal. Formal steps to follow in order to close the deal in the next hours. Medical tests and contract signing to follow this week. And we can finally put this saga to bed. Why free my guy? We can finally put this to bed, man, because this has been a very dragged out saga, obviously, you know. And I always find it funny how, you know, if you look at before the weekend. Every journalist, oh, it's done. They've hit a roadblock. We're not signing him. Then it's come out that actually we are, and they said the move was never in doubt. The quicker we get it done, the quicker he can jet off to America, link up with his new teammates, get up to speed of what Arteta demands of him individually and collectively. Because there's pressure for spots, man. Really, in a good way. We finally got competition, man. Again, somebody said it. We've come a long way to have Calafiori, Tomiyasu when fit, Timber, Benjamin White, Saliba, Gabriel. A couple of these players can play in multiple roles. We've got fantastic options there, and I'm not against it, but of course, I think we've got good options in the attacking third. Of course, I want a striker and a winger. My issue is, are we saying this about our central midfield options? Take nothing away from Thomas Partey and Jorginho. Great players going to be needed this season as well. But there's not really the longevity in that middle of the park. It's only really Declan Rice and Odegaard. Big fan of Smith Rowe. Don't want him to leave. But if you're offering 30, 40 million, Arsenal have a decision to make in that regards. Fabio Vieira, he's another one that it's last chance saloon for me personally as an Arsenal fan. I think he's got the technical qualities. I think he's, very versatile. I think he's a good player, but you need to put a marker down now, man. Wherever you're going to play, you really need to put a marker down. We need a central midfielder this season and next summer, in my opinion. If it's up to me, we sign 2. Obviously, that isn't going to happen, man. You're doing bits, man. Keep pushing. You're doing well, fam. Proud of you, gang. Everyone press the like button. Hey, you're far too kind. And with supporters like that, who needs enemies? Carrying on the theme with Calafiori, he did not get called up for Bologna duties after returning from holidays. Now, again, everybody's starting to do the pre-season stuff. Arsenal and Bologna agreed on a 40 million euros plus 5 million euros deal with a sell-on clause also included. Calafiori agreed on a 5-year deal with Arsenal. Now, I don't want to do too much, but considering the year he had at Bologna, the level of interest in him, obviously playing in the Euros, bumped up his asking price, and it's quite the handsome profit for a player that's only been at Bologna for a year. I actually have to give Edu and Arteta credit. Well, you know what? Arteta for identifying Edu and his team for obviously getting the deal over the line. Because what's 40 million? It's probably like 37, 38 million pounds and some change. 5 million's about 4 point something. So it's not really the most groundbreaking of fees. We didn't really overpay. And again, he's 22. If he can develop and do his thing and be a linchpin here, we're laughing essentially, man. Let's keep him. I'm keeping Tommy. But I welcome all opinions, man. I'm keeping Tomiyasu. I'm sure there's some people that are done with him essentially. There's some people that want to sell Gabriel Jesus. I'm not against it. Everyone's got a price, but that'd be crazy. Again, news coming out of Italy is saying the deal to Arsenal is imminent and Bologna are about to close the negotiation. So I'm sure for Bologna, the quicker you get your money from Arsenal, the quicker you can source your replacements. Because I actually feel sorry for Bologna, man. After getting into the Champions League last season, they've lost their manager to Juventus. Obviously, we're about to sign Calafiori and Joshua Zirkzee headed to Man United. So they've lost key linchpins of their team going into an important campaign, but that's their business. Again, everybody's talking about it. Again, we have a duty to go over everything, people. Arsenal are edging closer to completing their first major summer signing after a breakthrough in talks with Bologna over a deal for Calafiori. The Gunners are expected to pay around £40 million for the 22-year-old, and reports in Italy suggest the deal could be finalised this week. Big him up. Well, obviously, he'd technically be our third signing. Raya's deal was made permanent, as we know. Tommy Setford, has been signed from Ajax, and we've technically signed a Norwegian keeper as well. So he'd probably be our fourth signing, essentially, or whatever. Talks over Calafiori with Bologna advanced over the weekend, and the key part of negotiations is the sell-on clause. You'd imagine they have a sell-on clause in his Arsenal in this Arsenal deal. That means his old club Basel are due 50% of any transfer fee. Whoever signed off on that from a Basel point of view is a genius. Whoever did that from a Bologna point of view, it's an L, really. Arsenal want to sign a left-footed defender this summer and have beaten off interest from Juventus and other Premier League clubs in their bid to land the left-footed Italy defender who can play centre and left-back. There has been talks that people tried to hijack the deal, but these things are always out there, man. Now Roma wants some crumbs off the Calafiori deal. Italians are broke. James, realistically, like in terms of finances, the Premier League is up here. All the other leagues are there. So can you really begrudge Roma and all of these clubs for wanting to get involved, really and truly? Again, considering the money English clubs have and what we've actually paid this Italian team, I don't think we've been robbed. But if he was to go to Juventus, they're probably playing 20 million. That's going to be spread out over 5 years. I can't blame them. Basel are better men than me, because if I negotiated that a year ago, I'm turning off my phone. That's your business. You signed off on this, essentially, man. Bonucci has been speaking about Calafiori, and I don't want to overgas Calafiori because he ain't kicked a ball. I don't think he's got significant weaknesses, but again, I might change my mind on that when we see him on a consistent basis. I think he does lack a bit. He's not slow, but I do think he could struggle against fast wingers, if that makes sense. But then he makes up for that with his intelligence. There's such a great blank canvas. I don't want to gas him, but He reminds me, listen, he will do well to be mentioned in the same vein as Cannavaro, Chiellini, Bonucci, you've spoken of him, and all of that kind of Nesta, Maldini, every great defender. You know, when you think of defenders, you think of Italy. I think he's got a bit of that, and I think he could be the kind of present day one of that. And then I think he's got the modern day attributes. You know, he's very comfortable on the ball, can play that inverted role. He wants to be a protagonist. With the greatest of respect to Kiwior, I do think that's been a major issue for Kiwior, if I'm blatantly honest. Now, I don't know Kiwior. I don't know if he's confident or not. He just comes across as a very shy lad. Everyone can be how they want to be, people. I've got no bone to pick in that regard. But, you know, Zinchenko, I think one thing I like about him, and I definitely hate to see mistakes, he will say, give me the ball. If he makes a mistake, he makes a mistake. I think Timber wants the ball. I think Tomiyasu is more conservative, but I think he wants the ball. And I think Calafiori wants it as well. I can't always say I've seen that with Kiwior. And I understand it. You know, you're not first choice. You're in and out the side. There's bound to be a bit of mind games in that regards. But Bonucci said, Calafiori, I'm sorry about his transfer. I would have liked to have seen him at Juventus. He's a defender who's a little different to what we're used to seeing. He plays, has personality, and fits in. We're exporting a great player who will be a point of reference for the national team for the next 15 years. 15 years, he's 22. The average professional career is 9 years. I hope so, but it's probably capping a bit, really and truly, if I'm honest, man. You ain't gassing it, bro. He's going to be a great player. Kivs can develop as a centre-back now instead of a left-back. I hear you, but, like, really, from a selfish point of view, if we're not talking about bringing money in and if players want to leave, I'm on keeping Kiwior because I want a big squad. Like, I know everyone needs to be happy, everyone wants to play and stuff like that. But from a selfish point of view, if I'm Mikel Arteta, I don't really care about that. We have one of the smallest squads. Let's be honest, we probably had about 12 players last season. I'll push that to 14 when the Zinchenkos, the Jesuses, the Partey's all came back to from injury. If we assume Trossard's on the bench and there's 11 Arsenal players out there, that's the 12 players truly in their hearts trusted by Mikel Arteta, in my opinion. We need a bigger squad than that. I personally think we need 20. Now, of course, not everybody can play. As much as I wish life was fair, I wish everybody could play, everyone could get rest, everyone could get equal game time. But if life was fair, we'd all have a lot less. So I understand keeping Kiwior, but like, how much is he really going to develop? Because you're not going to play ahead of Gabriel. And I'm not even trying to diss Kiwior, but you know, if you put a gun to my head now and you look at our first 5 games where we've got the North London derby, we've got Manchester City, we've got some difficult games. Every game's difficult in the Prem. You know, left back for me personally, Timber, Calafiori, a fit Tommy, they're all probably going to play ahead of him. I do lean towards him and Zinchenko is a bit of a because he's a lot more solid than Zinchenko, but at least Zinchenko can do that inverted role and quote unquote looks confident there. You look at centre half options now, whether it's the left or the right. I think fans do too much with Saliba, he's a right-sided centre half. He goes and plays there for France, nobody cares. So that's an angle. You know, I think you're more likely to see Benjamin White move over there, Benjamin White move over there, Timber played there, Tomiyasu played there, Gabriel, obviously, they're all probably more likely to play there. I might even be capping, but assuming we had central mid options, maybe even Declan Rice could go centre half before Kiwior, really. I like Kiwior. He's not a bad player. Sometimes it's okay. It just hasn't worked out, man. I wouldn't force him out the door, but I understand if Kiwior says, you know what, Gaffer, you've brought in a new player. I'm not getting ahead of what we've got already. I love being here. It is what it is. It's time to go back. And if I'm Kiwior and, you know, it's a chance to have a reunion with Thiago Motta at Juventus, if Inter and AC genuinely are interested in you, if Napoli under Conte are genuinely interested in you, obviously your stock is held a lot higher in Italy than it's been in the Premier League, realistically, or in England, better yet. I can't begrudge him if he wants to go, if I'm completely honest with you. And I've said before, you know, with Kiwior, I don't think he's part of the Nelsons, the Tierney's, the Nketiahs. I hate to say it, probably even Smith Rowe in that Ramsdale players that are actively being forced out. I think Kiwior kind of falls into the Partey's, the Jesuses, even indirectly Zinchenko, probably some others in that. The club aren't going to actively get you offers, but they've probably been more receptive to getting offers than they ever have been, man. What do you think? What do you think? We want to play Zinni in midfield. He would do a good job on the left of Rice. What do you think? You see, broski, I'm a bit, when it comes to Zinchenko in midfield, I'm a bit conflicted, you know, in a sense of if the sun is shining at the Emirates or really and truly up and down the country and we've got all the possession, they're all in the opposition is all in their own half. We're dominating proceedings. It's one-way traffic. Zinni, do your thing. Zinni's great at that, really and truly. And obviously, he's played a number of games for his country in particular, even though he don't play there anymore as a central midfielder. So he can do it. But I just think if you go to sleep at left back, in the middle of the park where, you know, people fail to remember that Mikel Arteta is very big on what you do off the ball, and as soon as we lose it, winning it back. I don't think he's dynamic enough in that midfield. And again, you know, Zinchenko's had a great career. He's won Premier League several times over. He's playing for Arsenal. He's played and played under Pep Guardiola and all of that. But you have to ask yourself, like, I would love to ask Mikel Arteta and Pep Guardiola, why doesn't Zinchenko organically play in central midfield? Why was he made a fullback? I'm a Sunday lead fullback. Maybe in the present day with the Trents and Marcelos and all these kind of players coming around, but no one wanted to be a fullback. It's because there's something wrong with me further up the field. So there must be something in Zinchenko's game. And even if Zinchenko is going to stay and play in midfield, I don't think it's a bad option or a bad shout. But if he is going to stay and play as a 10, maybe if something happens to Odegaard or he needs to be rested, even though I think Kai Havertz is more likely to play in that 10 role ahead of Zinchenko, even though on the board I'd rather see Zinni. I don't think you're going to get significant game time, like really and truly. Like, again, I'm on being selfish. You know, if we can get money and get these players out and reinvest and raise the ceiling or raise the floor, I'm all for it. But at the same time, if Zinni and Kivio and these guys can hang around, I don't mind it, but how much game time are you going to play? Because again, we need to win Premier League titles. That's the first thing. So whether it's like what we saw at the end of last year where there was injuries and squad players came in and their form was great and was ticking over, or Mikel Arteta was starting his strongest team, we need to be getting 3 points every week. You know, if the team is in bad form and we're losing and all of that, then you start to think, oh, you know what, Arteta, maybe other people need an opportunity. So that's that. Champions League, we can't F about. At best, you know, assuming we go through the last game week, you can do that. FA Cup, slight rotation, but I want to win that. I like all the others. The League Cup, fair enough. That's probably where, dependent on how far we go, that's probably where, you know, you'll see mass changes. So it's a bit of a madness, really. It depends on even what we get on Zinchenko. And I'm sure, you know, the club have clearly showed that they plan things. But I personally think the very fact that Partey's deal is running out, Zinchenko's deal's got 2 years left, Smith Rowe's deal's got 2 years left, I think decisions have already been made, essentially, man. There was a point last season, every day we woke up, whether it was Odegaard, Benjamin White, Tomiyasu, you know, and even before that, the Salibas, the Martinellis, the Sakas, they were all signing new deals. So the club have been very proactive. So it can't be by chance. As I said, there is a reality where people that I've said there could sign new deals. But how far up the priority list are there, man? Big up my guy Inner Circle. 100% DG, a lot of upgrades and deeper squad needed. Zinni needs gone. He's a liability. Played in both losses to Villa, West Ham, Fulham. I hear that, but I don't think that's fully fair on him, really and truly. Against Aston Villa, we collectively didn't kill the game in the first half. You know, against at the Emirates. Against West Ham, we were all poor. Against Fulham away, everyone was terrible. But I do agree with you that unfortunately, he's a liability defensively. We've seen it several times. And how much times do we have to see the same movie before we clock, there's not going to be a new ending, essentially. So it's a techie one, man. I hear you, DG, but the problem is most of our depth is defenders. Keeping players like Kivio and Zinni prevents us from putting that money to depth in needed positions, such as across the midfield and right wing. I hear that, but then I don't doubt you in the depth thing, but let's just say, God forbid, Tommy's out now for the preseason. Let's just assume the season started now. Boom, with Tomiyasu suddenly got an injury. Benjamin White's got an injury. One guy is struggling because do you remember last season? You know, Saliba and Benjamin White actually played with Knox as well as Gabriel. You look at our early Champions League days. How far does the depth go, really? So I hear it, but at the same time, you know, I understand we need to sell to really reinvest. Essentially, great talking points. Again, Calafiori's been omitted from the Bologna pre-season preparations as his move to Arsenal edges clearer. He's not involved in their training camp. We're all aware now that, you know, he's in advanced talks to sign for Arsenal Football Club, and hopefully by the end of the week, or for me tomorrow, things happen. Apparently, once again, he's on the verge of signing for our club. He's expected to join this week. Somebody mentioned Roma are set for a legal battle in the Calafiori move. I mean, it's no honor among thieves, and business is a harsh place, isn't it? Really and truly, you know, Basel, honestly, as I said earlier, if I'm Basel, I'm turning off my phone. Like, you negotiate what you need to negotiate with Arsenal so you lot get whatever money you want. You agreed last year to this 50% sell. We knew that Calafiori, respectfully to Bologna, is going to be destined for bigger and badder things. leave me out of it, really. And Roma, I don't know how Roma have come out the woodworks, people, but apparently Roma are not happy with the financial aspects of the move, and are not particularly happy with Basel. The issue now has become a legal dispute between Roma and Basel. Calafiori seems set to move to Arsenal from Bologna for 45 million euros, and 50% of the fee will go to Basel, who have a sell-on clause in his contract. But Roma believe that they should also earn 8 million euros from the move because of the clause they had in the deal when Basel signed the player. I mean, if it was signed and it's in cold legal writing, then they are entitled to something. In 2022, Calafiori, I think it had joined the Swiss side for 2.5 million, and Roma had a resale percentage of 40%. Basel sold the player to Bologna for 4 million a year later, and out of this 1.5 million went to, obviously, Roma. But Roma believe that isn't over yet. Basel are earning over 50% of what Bologna will earn and what they initially earned from when Calafiori joined. But Roma state that Basel didn't inform them about the deal, and they believe that their 40% sell-on percentage also refers to what Basel will earn from Calafiori's Arsenal move. They feel they should even earn 8 million from the move on top of what they received in 2023. The lawyers of both clubs are assessing how to take the situation forward. Smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't. Do make sure you get involved. Can't really begrudge that. And it's just hit me. This is completely random, people, but this is going to be the first time in his he's 22 years of age, and he's played for a couple of Italian clubs. He played in Basel, and he's about to move to England. This feels like the first time since he's become a proper professional that we assume he's going to be here for a long time, that he's got some stability. You was at Basel for 2 minutes, you was at Bologna for 2 minutes. Now you can really settle and whatnot. So yeah, and what I like about him is he goes against the grain. We all know Italian players, they tend to end up at the Juventuses, the ACs, the Inters, and I'm sure internally Italian football fans of those clubs and just based in Italy probably agree that, one of your best talents is going to be playing in foreign waters. But for me, I'm happy with this as well, because we're one of the best sides in the league and definitely in the world defensively. So you see so many teams sign great defenders and then they don't look how good they look because of the system. So he's coming into a system where we're one of the best defensive sides, and obviously Arteta has something to do with that. You look around our team, the whole team, but you look at our defenders. Tomiyasu has got better under Arteta. Gabriel definitely has. He's finally got a chant now. Benjamin White, you look at how he was treated by Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher when he signed for this football club to how he's spoken about now. Saliba, 1 minute Arteta don't rate him allegedly. Now he's one of the best players in the Premier League and one of the best young defenders, or defender outright in the world, really and truly. Do I think Saliba is the best defender in the world? Don't shoot me, Arsenal fans. Not necessarily. Rudiger and Van Dijk are still about. Them lot at them players I said there at Saliba's age weren't held in high regard as he is now. Saliba will do well when he gets to them lot's age to still be about. And why I don't think Saliba is the best, I think he's got a shout. 100% he's got a shout. But I made a video about this. Is Saliba a level above Van Dijk? Is he a level above Rudiger? So then if he's not, I can't convincingly say you're the best. I think you've got a case, but are you the best? But look at where we're having conversations now. Just you look at Saliba, we're all forgetting. We've got Bukayo Saka, we've got Odegaard. We're about to get this Calafiori guy. People are forgetting what Timber is on. I said it last summer. I think, obviously Declan Rice signed for 100 million and he's mustard essentially. But I thought Timber was going to be in with a shout of signing of the season. And it'd be interesting to see the options, man. It'd be interesting, and we keep forgetting Calafiori. There's no guarantee that he's just going to play left back. You might even play central midfield. I'm in the process of doing a video, but he's called the Italian John Stones, and he's actually used John Stones as a reference point. Now, two players are not the same, but in John Stones' whole career, whether it's Barnsley, whether it's Everton, or, for the last, it might even be 10 or so years now, maybe exaggerating, Manchester City, he's played in central midfield, centre half, a right back, and probably somewhere else, essentially. Think TT is one of our best 1v1 defenders, decent on the ball. Think we'll keep him this season. If he gets injured before Jan, then put him for sale in the January window. I'm not a fan of selling people in January, and I do think Tomiyasu is probably our best 1v1 defender, but then I look at it, and I think based on last season, I actually think Saliba's got a shout now. I think people don't give him his credit, but I think based on what he did last season, Gabriel. So yeah, man, there's a lot of things here. Hopefully you're not saying nothing mad. I can't understand that, but yeah, what the hell was Bologna gotten into? That 50% was pure goofiness. They agreed to it, man. They got finessed. I really don't want to sell Smith Rowe, man, but his injuries are finishing him like Wilshere, but I don't really want to let him go. I think it could be a problem in the future. I think if he goes somewhere, he's going to get a clear run, but for him, the last 2 years, I don't want to say it's been wasted, but you ain't played, essentially. You haven't played. Arteta clearly likes you, and when it comes to gassing players, whether it's bringing players in or keeping them at the club, Arteta's clearly got the gift of the gab. For Smith Rowe, you've got to ask yourself the question: what in your heart? What do you in your heart? What do you feel is right? 2, what option scares you the most? Does leaving your comfort zone, stepping into the unknown? I don't really want to say unknown because he's been on a couple of loan spells, so it's not like he's not known anything away from Arsenal. But he's been here since he was 8 years of age. He's been here from a little boy to a young child to a teenager to a young man to a fully grown man now. And you think about all the life experiences you have away from football, the consistency has been Arsenal. He's wearing our number 10. You saw what he did in that breakout season. So I'm sure there's an affinity there. And obviously Arteta likes him because you're still here and we're challenging for stuff. But do you want to take a step backwards to take 10 steps forward? What option scares you? Is it leaving Arsenal, leaving this and going somewhere and starting elsewhere? If that is the case, they say life begins outside your comfort zone. I can assure all of you, I don't want to see Smith Rowe leave, but it is what it is. And when Zinni was out, Kyrgios played left back with White inverting. We won 8 games. I hear you, and you're not wrong, but I don't think that's fair, though. I don't really think that's fair because Kyrgios got in the team at the right time. We were brushing teams aside, really. I don't really think Kyrgios or Zinni are the options. You know, to be honest, you wish you could mix them both into one player. They'd be a half-decent lad, really and truly, but there you have it. Zinni was good for taking us to a certain level, but like most things, it has to come to an end. I think that's it there. Afternoon, DG. Arsenal have moved on and need to be shopping at the top table for players who don't bother. Chiesa, Barella. I mean, Chiesa's available for a discount, but he loves the injury. Barella's apparently signed a new deal at Inter Milan. I don't think you can put Adeyemi in a level of top table players. He's incredibly frustrating, if I'm honest, even though I'm a big fan of his. Nico Williams is more than welcome to sign for this football club. And I like Jeremy Frimpong, but I don't think there's a use for Frimpong. Yeah, you know, you could argue, some would say maybe we could get another centre half for the right hand side, but I don't think Frimpong's a better option than Benjamin White in its entirety. He's probably better in the final third, but I don't think he's a better option there. I don't think he's a better option than Timber. I would rather Tomiyasu. I'll be very, very honest. I'd rather Tomiyasu, of course. Frimpong, a lot more scary and dynamic and, you know, a lot more of a joy to watch in the final third, but collective package, they're all better than him. Frimpong is dog shit, pardon my language, defensively. That's probably why you see him playing as a wing back or sometimes as a winger, really. You know, you saw it in the Euros. He's playing in front of Denzel Dumfries. It'd be a shiny new choice. I'm not sure on that one, my guy. I'm not sure on that one. DG, what do you think will be our main / is our best back four now with Timber and Calafiori? Honestly, I don't know because there's a lot of factors. It depends on what the opponents were playing, form, injuries, etc. But if you was asking me what I would want to see, I don't know because like obviously Benjamin White's the big dog, and I think you know you go back to last summer, people say, oh, you know what, Timber might be bad news for Benjamin White, which Ben White has said, I'm not losing my spot without a fight, which you have to big him and everyone else up. You never know because what if Calafiori takes Gabriel's spot and you've got Timber left back and Benjamin White? What if Benjamin White gets dropped and you throw Timber over there and you go with Calafiori? I don't know, man, but what I would want to see, it's tough, man, because I think obviously Saliba and Gabriel, David Raya, Benjamin White. And I think at the moment it's between Timber and Calafiori. It depends. I mean, Calafiori is a natural left footer. He's shiny new toy as well. You know, if we was playing Man City tomorrow, I would say Timber. Is Van Dijk better than Saliba only in name or in actual ability? Because I agree, I don't think he's the best. But when I think about it, there isn't much competition. There isn't much, really. Tommy had Salah in his pocket. Amen. Doesn't look like we're getting a striker. If we don't end up with Neto, a centre mid, and another winger, would that be enough? We need a central midfielder, man. Without a doubt. We need a central midfielder without a doubt. We need an inside forward without a doubt, man. You don't have to disrupt anything, but you need different dynamics. It's well known Benjamin White played through the pain barrier, really and truly. You know, if you want to play, show Arteta why you need to play, but we do need to not rotate for rotation's sake, but rotate. And also in games, you know, if Benjamin White's played 10, 20 games in a row and, you know, that's the backdrop of the Champions League and whatnot, and we need to bring on a Timber or Tomiyasu to close out games, I'm all for that. Like In the Circle says, good problems to have here, man. There's more than enough game time and all of them are starters in their own right. You know, Arteta's always evolved the system. On one hand, there was no need on the face of it to get rid of Tierney or to, you know, to system to leave Zinchenko. He still did it. So, yeah. Tommy was probably rushed back for once. Just bring him back slowly when he's ready. Bring him back slowly. I mean, we'll never know, man. Man to a man, Smith has to leave for his own growth. It probably is that, man, really. It probably is that. Speaking of Tomiyasu, he's set to miss all of our preseason games, people, with a knee injury. As it says here, James Ben said he could miss the entirety of his side's preseason preparations after sustaining a knee injury that has kept him from joining the first team squad of the American tour, people. He's not part of that 26-man squad that traveled from London to LA. There's no time scale publicly on how long it will take, but CBS sources allegedly say 2 to 3 weeks, which, you know, means he's going to miss everything, including the Emirates Cup. So there we have it. The very fact that we all rate Tomiyasu, he's 25, but he still only played 83 appearances across all comps, and he's never appeared in more than 22 Premier League matches in a single season. And as much as I love him, these are things that need to be eradicated. We all know we're getting closer to signing Calafiori. And who's to say Arteta won't switch to a back three? I'm not saying he will, but as Inner Circle said, keeping up the theme, good problems to have. Two Brazilians who play for opposite North London clubs, you know, Spurs and Gabriel Jesus. Apparently they're drawing interest from the Middle East. I'm gonna, you know what, I very rarely do this. Gabriel Jesus is back next season. 15 league goals. You heard it here first. Clip that. 15 league goals. I was going to say 20. I didn't have enough chess. I don't know for Gabriel there. But Gabriel Jesus has been linked with a move to the Middle East. I wonder if that's something Arsenal would look to do. Again, talks are still ongoing for Calafiori, as we've gone over. More talks are scheduled for tomorrow, which is today. Arteta pushed internally for him. Apparently, we've made a 300,000 offer for Dan Bentley from Wolves, people. He probably, in my opinion, end up being the third choice goalkeeper. And then whether it's that Jerome Garcia or whatever, depending on what happens with Aaron Ramsdale, I think another one will be brought in to be the second choice. He was a former Gooner. Obviously, spent time here as a kid before getting released and going to Southend. Since then, he's been at Southend, been at Brentford, and been at Bristol City, and currently finds himself at Wolves. And hopefully, if that's the case, we sign 2 players from Wolves. And I hope while we're starting some sort of talks with Wolves, Pedro Neto. I mean, the first option for me would be Nico Williams. Whether we're able to do that's another thing. Pedro Neto would be great. We've heard Wolves want £1 million. We've offered 300,000. So are we gonna find an agreement around the 600k kind of region? I'm not quite too sure, people. Ironically, he did come off the bench at the Emirates one time. Keeping up the theme with goalies, Aaron Ramsdale is still linked with Newcastle and Southampton. I don't buy the Southampton shouts because, again, I'm no transfer man, but Arsenal allegedly want 35 to 40 to 50 million, right? So bearing in mind they just got promoted. So that's one. He's probably on 100 odd grand a week. And you don't know if Southampton are going to stay in the Premier League. So it could be quite the expensive purchase. I wouldn't be against Ramsdale going out on loan, putting himself in the shop window, but that's just where I doubt the Southampton links. Newcastle, they've always been linked with him, ironically, as well as Wolves and Chelsea. We don't know if these things are coming to anything. Apparently, Arsenal will demand a minimum of 50 million. I mean, I'm for that, you know. When you see some of the apparent things that we're requesting for Reece Nelson, Eddie Nketiah, Emil Smith-Rowe and Aaron Ramsdale, I'm not saying they should be that, but would you rather our club, you know, try and punch a bit more than undercut ourselves? Because these guys could all go somewhere and be decent to some level. So I'm not too sure of this. And I wonder, you know, what Aaron Ramsdale's thinking is, you know, ideally, selfishly for me, I'd hope he reckons he could wrestle his spot back from Raya, even as impossible as that is, just because we've got 2 decent keepers. In relation to Merino, where some reports actually say the moment we get Calafiori over the line, our attention will switch to a central midfielder. In relation to Merino, apparently he wants to think carefully about which path to take after deciding not to renew his contract with Sociedad. At the moment, the teams that have been the most insisted the most are Atletico Madrid. Arsenal have made some calls and inquiries, but there's no official offers yet. 28 years of age, a year left on his deal, could be available for 20 odd million euros. So it wouldn't break the bank really, but I think it'd be a decent signing. Allegedly, Arsenal will focus all efforts on Spain star after Calafiori, as you said here. I would love us to sign Dani Almo and Nico Williams, but we can forget about all of that. Merino will cost 25 to 30 million euros, which in brackets is 21 to 25 million. Arteta sees no problem with Sociedad's asking price, and director of football Edu is expected to approach the player when Calafiori is signed, people. So we'll have to see. He's still linked with Atletico Madrid, and you can't blame him for wanting to think closely about his future. Again, there we have it here, people. The bid for Mikel Merino, Arsenal has the money, Barcelona prefer to wait, and Atletico Madrid does not convince. So allegedly the project at Atletico Madrid does not convince him. Barcelona, you'd imagine they're trying to get people out, and respectfully to Merino, where I think they need a central midfielder, Dani Almo and Nico Williams are both aggressively linked with both clubs. That's probably their priority. And then if they could circle back, they'll look to circle back. So it looks like Merino will be the one that will probably be in a lot of my thumbnails in the few weeks to come. Merino is a player who likes various clubs, and also his goal to Germany in the Euro Cup has put more in the window. A Google Translate is not helping us. At the moment, those who have shown the most interest have been Arsenal, Barcelona, and in the last days, Atletico Madrid. So yeah, man, he wants to think carefully. He's got a lot of decent clubs interested in him. He's got a year left on his deal. Arteta allegedly wants him. We'll have to watch that space. We've gone over Gabriel Jesus as well. Chelsea apparently have been thrown into the mix as well, where it's concerned people. So again, the race for Moreno is hotting up. Apparently, in relation to Eddie Nketiah, Marseille are working on a loan deal for Eddie Nketiah that includes an obligation to buy. Marseille made an opening offer for the player last week to kickstart negotiations, but they're yet to find an agreement with Arsenal. That was by Ryan Taylor. So there must be a whole length article on that. Real Sociedad are resigned to losing Euro 2024 star Mikel Merino and want 30 million. Let's see what's going on there then. Let's click these articles and see exactly what's being said. So they're resigned to losing him. He's got a year left on his deal. Naturally, they would. 25 million allegedly is the asking price, which we've gone over. Atletico Madrid interested in Conor Gallagher. That's crazy. Relations between Arsenal and Sociedad are understood to be strong following left-back Kieran Tierney's surprise loan move to San Sebastian last summer. Is there anything else? Been speaking about Smith Rowe. Arteta's summer budget is expected to be supplemented by a series of sales with Emil Smith Rowe, Eddie Nketiah, and Reece Nelson among the favourites to depart the Emirates Stadium. That said, until offers are accepted, all three will continue to form part of Arsenal's pre-season plans after travelling with the squad to the United States on Sunday. Some of you would have seen Smith Rowe wearing the captain's armband against Leyton Orient, and he also scored. We know Fulham have had one offer rebuffed, and apparently Crystal Palace and Fulham are going to try again for Smith Rowe. We've just gone over Marseille are working to try and get an Eddie Nketiah deal over the line. So things are starting to pick up where our football club is concerned, people. Romano has said Barcelona are only focused on Williams. This remains clear. Plan with more contact scheduled this week to get a green light on personal terms. I mean, let's get Dani Olmo then, man. We need to get one of these Spanish dons. I'm sure you've seen this already, but Tommy set for the sign for the football club. We've been linked with a Turkish winger. Never seen him play unless he played at the Euros, people. But Baris Alpa Yilmaz apparently is interested in Arsenal. Apparently, there's been a meeting with his agent to discuss a potential move to Arsenal. I personally don't buy that. Let me know your thoughts. Again, links to Eze have resurfaced. Liverpool, Manchester City and Arsenal have been thrown into the mix. Some of you would have seen allegedly Kevin De Bruyne has agreed personal terms over and moved to Saudi Arabia. And we all know Eze is a player that everyone would be interested in, people. The 26-year-old has done well last season, obviously was in the Euro squad. They're saying he's got a release clause, people, of around 60 odd million. I don't know if Palace would want him to leave. Not that you're kind of crippled with a release clause, but I'm not sure if they would want him to leave, having obviously seen Elise leave. So we'll have to see, man. But I'd be on that. So yeah, we've gone over that. What else have we got here? Chelsea, Barcelona fired and Arsenal fired warning over Nico Williams transfer. Ernesto Valverde has warned suitors Nico Williams that he does not believe the 22-year-old wants to leave the club this summer. We're never going to waste time with that. What else is he supposed to say, man? He's not an idiot. Again, Ivan Toney's price tag has dropped, people, and it doesn't seem at this moment that anybody's gone for him at the moment. I reckon he ends up at Spurs. We were linked once upon a time with João Neves. It seems like he's going to Paris Saint-Germain, the 19-year-old Portuguese man who currently plays for Benfica. The Benfica president has revealed the club have received an offer, people, for him. He said, I never said João Neves would only leave for his release clause, and therefore those claims are false. What I can say in relation to João Neves is that there is an offer on the table that has been in the news in the last few days, but I'm not going to say where this proposal stands. There's a proposal on the table which is being evaluated and is being discussed, but at the moment, João Neves remains an Arsenal player. It's not that I want to hide the ins and outs, because I understand Benfica fans want to know whether João was leaving or not, but at this moment, there are ongoing negotiations, so please allow me to be reserved about this subject so we can take care of what will be the best outcome for Benfica. So he probably ends up at PSG. It don't seem like United are hot on that case. And, you know, Arsenal have cut the moles out at the club, but it doesn't appear that we're involved in that as well. Chelsea apparently planning on hijacking a move for Merino, as we went over already. We've been linked once again with Pedro Neto. Apparently, we've held early talks with his agent this week, and apparently the Portuguese man is prioritising a move to Mikel Arteta's side. Apparently, it was a boyhood Arsenal fan. 50 million allegedly is the price tag, folks. So make of that what you will. We've gone over that already. I would have loved João Neves to sign for us. PSG are refusing to go above and beyond 80 million euros for Victor Osimhen. So if that's kind of the ballpark, is that something we should get back in for? Again, Dalma Chef of Sky Sports has spoken about Smith Rowe, Reece Nelson and Nketiah. There's every expectation that Fulham will go back in with an improved offer for Smith Rowe. And I mean, how often are offers first time really accepted? Everybody's been linked with Karim Karim Adeyemi. The Dortmund director has said we never opened the door for us. That's not an issue at all. Every day there's a name in the press who supposedly wants to leave and how much we will earn then. So yeah, I mean, I love Karim Adeyemi, but you're incredibly frustrating, and I don't think at this moment in time you take us to the next level. And obviously the 26-man squad has been announced, people. The two Gabriels as well as Kai Havertz will join the club from July the 25th. Apparently Aaron Ramsdale, Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, Saliba, and David Raya will link up upon the return from America. Tomiyasu and Tini, as we said earlier, have not travelled. And there's a bunch of young players in there, so hopefully they all get a chance to impress, essentially, people. But that appears to be everything. What does Timber have in front of him going on the bench or what? I think Timber's a starter. I think Calafiori's a starter. I think Benjamin White's a starter. Make Arteta have those problems, man. It all depends, really. When you get your spot, hold on to it, man. Good problems to have, as you said there. I think White's going to be first choice. I think White's deserved that right to be first choice, until it's his spot to lose, essentially. Love Tommy, but it's time to go. Sorry. I'm not selling him now. I know he's injured. I know people don't want to hear it. Tommy's on 100 grand a week. I'm not pocket watching, but I strongly doubt Tomiyasu's on that, man. Buy the dip on the Gabriel Jesus 9, folks. Bring that Bentley. He's got decent footwork. I mean, you just want to bring in an experience. Obviously, him being English helps with homegrown. You want to bring him in because obviously, he's probably good around the training ground and he's someone that can push the second and third choice. Go get it done. Really want Jesus gone. Does not fit the system. Does not finish. Dropping too deep. Often injured. I hear you on the price tag and being injured. But if Gabriel Jesus doesn't fit the system, no one up front does. I think that's very harsh. Like Arteta said, he changed our life. Why are we still talking about Smith Rowe? He's not good enough for Arsenal. They need to sell, bring in better players. That's harsh, man. He's a good player, bro. I watch Turkish ball. He would be a good replacement, but I'd rather have Neto if we don't get Williams. I mean, if he's lit, bring him in it. If that's the case. Eze's a bit older than what I thought. He said 26 though, man. You got plenty of years, man. Eze and Neto priority signings after Calafiori. I think, I'd love to be wrong, but you're hoping to sign either or, really. But I think if, there's not a reality where we get Eze and Neto, that's going to cost a lot of money. I don't see Arsenal getting Eze, so I'm reading two things. But as for Nico Williams, I don't see it. Seems like he'll be going to Barcelona, if anything. Neto still be someone I really like, but depends on the price. DG could have changed his agents. Could it be an indication of a transfer? Should we attack the situation? You never know. I mean, Zinchenko did. Maybe it's about negotiating a better deal at West Ham. Maybe him and his agent are just at loggerheads and they're just not together anymore like that. I mean, Kudus would fit our system like a glove, man. He's someone that we should have got when he was at Ajax. Still think Rice is going to play as an 8, so definitely need a centre defensive mid, but no one really stands out. Timber had an ACL, let him come back slow. I mean, he did come back slow. He was allegedly, people were saying he's fit since February, and he doesn't look like he's missing out. But you are right. We have to probably be a bit careful and tread carefully in that. But he looks like I can't say he's over it, but it looks like he's willing to go again, man. And his little cameo against Everton, if I remember correctly, was a joy to watch, man. If I'm honest, Neto was another sick note. That's the only thing, Neto can't stay fit. Arsenal tax, he's going to be great friends with the medical staff, and assuming still at the club, Tomiyasu, Partey, and Tierney, but we need you on the football pitch. I take Victor, but unless Jesus gets sold, I don't see it. It doesn't feel that we see an opportunity on the market. I think had we have got Sesko, that would have been our striker. I personally think we're going to park off the striker thing for a year, if I'm brutally honest with you. I would love a striker and a winger. I think both are absolutely vital. I was prepared to accept you can't get a winger, bring in a striker. I'm prepared to accept the vice versa of that. I think if we don't get if we don't sign a central midfielder and we don't address at least one body in the attacking third, we can still mount a title push. We've done it in the last 2 years, but I'll be very pessimistic. There'll be nothing that'll make me think, oh yeah, we're really going to do it this year. If I'm honest, Tommy, I wouldn't sell now, but if you can't stay fit from next season, then I would look to move on. I hear that, and I can't say you're entirely wrong with that. So it's interesting, man. DG, what's your dream left winger? For me, it's Calvo from Napoli, then second choice Leao. Probably Nico Williams right now. I think Nico Williams is a better player than Rafa Leao. I think Rafa Leao is extremely overrated. That doesn't mean I don't think he's a good player. I'm not saying you, but I just think a lot of people bill him up to be something he's not because they're not watching him on a consistent basis. I think he's a quality player. I think he's a demon to play against if you're a winger. I mean, if you're a defender, I think he'd be great on the transition. I think he's got lovely technical ability, but I do think he's a better player than Rashford, but you're loosely more or less the same player. You play on instinct, you're a bit volatile. I think you're incredibly frustrating. I'd say Nico Williams at this moment in time, man. And I've seen enough from Wolves' Pedro Neto to perform on the left-hand side. I wouldn't even mind an experimental winger like a Bakayoko from PSV for people to work with, man. Said months ago, underwhelming transfer window incoming, no striker and cheap bench warmers only. Watch, keep the faith, man. We had opportunities. Sesko was failed. Then Calafiori was the 1 or 2 is not bad. Man are lost to think Gabriel Jesus isn't good enough. He's a class player who sacrificed a lot for the team. Jesus at his best is one of our best forward players. And again, he could be someone that could be out wide, but Jesus is another one. You've got to stay fit. You've got to stay fit this season. Again, it's easier said than done. People get injured, but he's got to stay fit. That will help you a lot. I want to see the Gabriel Jesus of, maybe I'm exaggerating, but it felt like the season he signed, the first 6 months were amazing. And then what's actually sparked the end, well, not even the end, but his temporary demise, because I want him to get back, is it didn't even happen in an Arsenal shirt. It happened playing for Brazil, and then we're at where we're at now. But even that, people can say what they want about Gabriel Jesus. They won't remember the 2 performances against Manchester City ×2 now. They won't remember the cameos against in the Champions League against Bayern Munich. You know, even Martinelli needs to find this form immediately, but he scored 2 of the most important goals for this football club last season. Bagged the winner at home against City, and he obviously, you know, done what he did against Van Dijk and Alisson. You can see I've got a bias towards Brazilian players. I agree, DG. With Leao, he's similar to Walcott, doesn't know his best position. If Leao was a striker and took it seriously, he'd be a serious striker. I hear you. I think physically he's got that, but I don't think his general play from central areas is going to be enough. I don't think his hold-up play is good enough. I think he actually is a winger. Champions League, Jesus is a different animal. Jesus has not been at his best since getting injured at the World Cup, been gash ever since. I'm going to keep the faith in him, man. I don't think he's ever going to be a prolific striker, but I think he's got something to bring to this club, man. And 15 league goals, they're pending, man. Clip it. You heard it here first. Jesus, when he was on it, he was good. Problem is, he doesn't take the easy shots, but takes the hard ones. Jesus is an enigma. He makes no sense as a football player, in my opinion. He makes the difficult look, he makes the extremely difficult look easy, and he makes the easy look extremely difficult. And to be honest with you, at his age now, what is he, like 26, 27? I just think we need to accept Gabriel Jesus of what he is. You know, he came to this club under the premise of we start him up front. You know, he gets a consistent run. He could score goals. I just think we need to take a leaf out of City's booking. He's a great rotationary starter player. He can make people better, but we can't live or die by him scoring. He's never going to be a consistent goal scorer, is he? Really? That's the only thing he lacks, really. If Gabriel Jesus could score goals, we're not talking about a striker, but that's all ifs and buts and whatnot. We can only deal with what's in front of us. But I'm giving Jesus time, man. There's been rumors he's had surgery. Obviously, his form and the injuries, he was never going to play for Brazil in the Copa America. He's had that off. Apparently, he started his preseason very early. Why not, man? Got to disagree, upgrade and move on so he can win something. I was, even if Arsenal walk tomorrow and sign Osimhen or whoever you lot say up front, I'm still keeping Gabriel Jesus in the squad. I think you could be used as a wide option, and I think you're a fighter. I definitely think we need a striker, someone that can score goals for fun, someone that was born to bag, because it's a bit mad that we've scored 91 Premier League goals, over 100 in all comps, and we don't have a prolific goal scorer like that. Of course, statistically, we do. We've scored goals in the last 2 years. We're no doubt going to score goals in this upcoming season. But I just have a simple question for you lot. You know, who is going to get them goals? If you was betting your life savings on all this current existing options, who's going to get those goals? I'd say the smart money be on Saka, because you've done it in the last 2-3 years. The others, I think Trossard, Martinelli, Gabriel Jesus, Kai Havertz, I hope you continue that form. Gabriel Jesus, I think you've all got the capacity to score goals and go on rich run of forms. But who is going to bag? Man said, shout out DG, by the way, you calling Trossard overrated is aging like fine wine. He is overrated. I stand by that. But, you know, you mentioned that, and you don't mention when I said he's the best finisher at the club. And what I mean by him being overrated, I have to say it again because people are slaughtering me. I still get this. Is a bit like Kivior. It's a bit like Pablo Marin. Like, take nothing away from the player. It's the fan sentiments that are doing too much, putting these players on a level they're not, man. When will we acknowledge Arteta's ability to nullify his own striker's ability to score? I can't say I agree with that. I can't say I agree with that, because you look at last season, you know, we had through his own problems, we couldn't create, let alone convert chances. He eradicated that. We're creating a bag of chances. If we had a prime Alexis Sanchez, if we had an Aubameyang, they're scoring goals. Like, we've got to remember in the present day, and this doesn't just go for Arsenal. This even fucking Haaland, pardon my French, even Haaland, who general play is horrible. You know, as you've seen the last couple of times we've played City, you nullify their midfield and you nullify certain things. Haaland, on top of having to play against our bullies in defense, he's offering nothing. Even his general plays had to improve. Every team striker isn't just standing up front nowadays. You have to drop deep and do all of those kind of things. So I don't think we've nullified anything. I get what you're getting at in that obviously there's a focus on the collective kind of emphasis of what we're trying to do as a football club, pressing from the front, etc. But these are what you need, man. You cannot have your second highest wage earner as a backup option. Jesus has to start or leave. Ben Jacobs made this point. Can't have that much cash on the bench. But Kai Havertz bench, Gabriel Jesus 9. I hear that. And it's down for Gabriel Jesus. And I mean, if we're honest, left wing is open season. And to be brutally honest with you, I think you can, because Gabriel Jesus is on big money. He's on the bench. Partey was on the bench until the run-in. You can do what you want, essentially. But of course, something's going to have to change. And it's down to Jesus. All Jesus has to do is stay in the box and score. He doesn't want to score goals, so he is what he is. DG knows the truth that Foden is overrated. Incredibly overrated. Phil Foden's a wonderful player, generational talent, one of the best technical footballers been produced, but he ain't got no heart. You saw it for England. He ain't got no heart. But no doubt he'll be back scoring. You know, City will beat Ipswich 5-1. He'll score a hat-trick in the last 20 minutes and everyone be doing the boy wonder stuff, you know. So Phil Foden is the only player that's spoken about of a certain level of being a star boy and stuff, not expected to do star boy stuff. You know, if Saka has a bad game, people overdo it. And I'm not saying I'm a fan of scapegoating, but Foden is talked up. When it's time to do things, nobody speaks about it, really. So, yes, I respectfully disagree with that point about Mikel Arteta, essentially. DG, which unknown player would you sign in central midfield? Is there anyone unknown to just a football fan like me? I don't know. But, I mean, I always answer this question with Coop Miners. I don't know for unknown players. Foden doesn't have the chest like Saka. Imagine he threw the Saka treatment, he would crumble. He would crumble, man. Yeah, I mean, Arsenal's finances, you'd have to. But I don't imagine Jesus is going to leave. And if we assume that Kai Havertz is still first choice, then your backup Jesus is literally going to be on the bench. Of course, if we bring in another striker, there's a conversation to have. And I don't think Gabriel, especially if Eddie Nketiah leaves, Gabriel Jesus ain't leaving. I'm not a fan of Trossard false nine on a consistent basis. I must admit, there's definitely a lot of game time he can get, but the game situations have to be there. Jesus isn't the biggest, but physically, you saw it against Van Dijk last couple of times now, especially when we went to Anfield. He can give monster centre backs issues. Kai Havertz, he allows us to win the first and then build from the second balls. That's not Trossard. You're going to kill Trossard if you ask him to do that, essentially. And Trossard's naturally, if you're playing against Van Dijk, you're going to drop into midfield. So I'm not a fan of Trossard playing as a false nine on a consistent basis. At this moment in time, of course, I would love a striker. My first choice, my bias is Gabriel Jesus, but nobody can deny Kai Havertz is the first choice. And if we was playing, if the Premier League started tomorrow and I was Mikel Arteta, Kai Havertz has to play up front. I never, ever want to see Kai Havertz playing central midfield unless we wake up and he looks like Schweinsteiger, Ballack, insert quality, Tony Kroos, insert any quality German player here. DG hasn't forgotten about Foden calling Arsenal shit. Never, ever forget that, man. Off topic, but who's the best YouTube footballer? I don't know, man. Probably PK Humble. I don't know, one of them kind of ones. If you're talking about like more the football content creators, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know, because I'll be honest, I've been trying to tell them let's organize a football match because I know better than my shit. If I'm honest with you, I do like Trossard in the two up front sometimes. Like you said there, sometimes. What do you think about the sporting forward? You think he could be our player to unlock the goals? Gyökeres, I like what I see. I think the general plays there. I think he's got everything, but it just comes down to the price tag. And I think Arsenal like him, but I don't think he 100% convinces Arsenal. As we've seen, when a guy 100%, it's not 98, not 97, not 75, they will go for you, really. And I don't think he 100%, he either convinces the coach and stuff, but might not convince everyone from a financial point of view, the edus, etc. I don't think he's unanimously kind of liked, if that makes sense. Do you think that the clubs that are in for Smith Rowe, Eddie Nketiah, Nelson know that Arsenal wants to sell them and will make lowball offers? 100%. Like, these guys have been marginalized. Eddie Nketiah and Nelson, they signed new deals recently. Smith Rowe's got 2 years left on his deal, and very rarely, it's business. Nobody wants to pay the asking price. And again, no one's got any issues about Declan Rice be signing for 100 million, but naturally, no one wanted to get to that. It took about 2-3 bids. No one wants to. Don't need to be the biggest. Be annoying. Use your body to your strengths. But I would love to see midfield sorted, but only see an 8. Sadly, I mean, based on reports, it seems like Declan Rice is going to be the 8, so we need to bring in a 6, man. I manifest that. I don't want to see Smith Rowe go, but It's looking like such, man. DG, after Calafiori, who do you think our most realistic next signing is after that? Honestly, I don't know, because Arsenal have this ability to surprise you. But based on reports, Merino, to be honest, he's got a year left on his deal. It's 20-odd million quid. He's Spanish like Mikel Arteta. He addresses an area we evidently need to move for. You know, he can be a box-to-box midfielder as well, but you'd imagine he could be the 6 to Declan Rice continuing as an 8. I do think with him being he is left-footed, if I can remember rightly. With him being left-footed, Declan Rice has to play on the right, in my opinion. You never know. You really don't, but you get the point. So probably Merino, or probably another goalie, probably Dan Bentley, to be brutally honest. Foden is an inside forward. Ferran Torres settings doesn't have enough power to play wide or centre mid. Do you know what? I think he will be a central midfielder. I do think he's a long-term 8, but just ain't got no heart, man. Merino as a 6 is shaky. I think that's harsh. I heard if Eddie goes, then we'll get a striker, and if Nelson goes, we'll invest more. Surely we get a striker regardless of Eddie Nketiah, because again, we can't go over the Sesko stuff, but like, had he not have signed that deal, we'd have Sesko at this football club and Calafiori probably be, you know, the second outfield player. Then Eddie Nketiah wouldn't have left at that point. So considering what he started 10 Premier League games, he's a body in the squad. If I'm honest, bring Merino for the 8 and double pivot setup. I'm for that. And to be fair, it's a bit selfish, but Declan Rice on the right-hand side with Saliba, Benjamin White, Odegaard, Saka, or even Timber if Benjamin White's not there. That is scary, essentially. It really is scary. It really, really is scary, man. So it's interesting to see what our football club is going to do. It'd be very interesting to see what we're on, man, really. But with that being said, though, people, it's time for me to go get some lunch. I'm probably going to play Football Manager later, so big up you lot on Twitch. You lot's talking points, your opinions, your questions, everything is always appreciated, people. If you haven't subscribed and smashed the like button, make sure you're doing so. Don't forget to vote for the guy, people. Let's get the platform out there. And also, if you've done that, big up yourselves. I mean, you know, Calafiori is one thing, but I know a player with different individual qualities at fullback.
Against this right back, Charlie, definitely.